So what's the problem with the fucking doorways?
Dude.
This is my friend Dexter, and to put it lightly, he's not good at chess. What? Like, whatsoever. He couldn't even beat Martin.
Fuck!
Most dumbass chess.com AI of all time, who will most likely sack his queen for a pawn, and you take it back with a pawn. Which is why I, the 200 elo master, hey, don't laugh, will turn this 100 elo, which is the lowest you can get in the game, into literally me. Just literally me. Now, the first game was more so teaching Dexter how to actually play chess, since he had no idea how the pieces moved or interacted with each other. Even later on into this game, he keeps forgetting how the pieces moved, which I don't blame him for, since he had never played chess in his entire life, and the last time he actually played, someone cheated, and it was definitely not him. Now, before we begin with the game, I should preface, this is not me cheating, this is analysis board, and it's how I recorded the game so you could see what you see on screen. Also, the camera keeps fucking out of focus, so I tried to reduce that as much as possible, sorry.
Tutorial.
Dude, what? As you can see, I'm using a common opening called the Scotches game, meanwhile Dexter is just doing random shit, I guess. This later changes though, so don't worry. Also, what I noticed while watching this back is that he's less observant and makes sloppy mistakes, like this, allowing me to take trades with the pawns and attack back from my knight. Even giving me a free bishop on b7, allowing me to take with no consequences. Me trying to actually teach him instead of just sitting there like a fucking idiot, I try to tell him to pin the knight and the bishop with the queen. From what I see, he could have actually checkmated my king if I didn't move my queen. He then moves his pawn from h7 to h4 to protect the knight, which I completely forgot existed. He moves one of his pawns to g5 to threaten my bishop, but I attack his knight on b8. But then I fucking blunder here, which Dexter doesn't see, gladly, so I attack. He then uses the rook to attack my knight on b7, but I attack back with g8, putting the king into check, forcing him to move. I then castle my king, putting him to further safety. He then takes my free knight on g8, which I don't really care about since I'm trying to set up an attack. Then I easily do one of my biggest mistakes, which is move the queen to e3, which gives him a huge opportunity to win my queen and actually change the whole game around. But he doesn't do this and moves his king to d7, allowing me to take his queen on b6. He moves his rook to b8 to try and threaten my queen, but I move it to a6. This is the point Dexter basically gave up and started moving random pieces. I started finally setting up my pieces for the final assault on his king. He then moves his rook to c8 to threaten my bishop, but I move my queen to a7, forcing a check. He then has to move his king to d8, and I set my pieces accordingly, moving rook to d1, forcing a checkmate. Although this didn't rise my ego like you thought it would, because I knew Dexter was a completely and utterly new player. Beating someone that can't even beat Martin isn't impressive, and being arrogant about it is a dick move from me. So I took the time to actually just teach him about chess and chess.com's mode called Puzzle Rush, which heightened his ability to see my blunders and therefore make him a better player. I even turned our camera off so that he wouldn't have the subconscious thought that people were watching. Unfortunately, for some reason, Dexter wanted me to turn off the phone with the analysis board so you can't really see our game.
E4. E5? Whoa. Okay. He's much more complex this time.
I noticed around this time that Dexter was actually using an opening to combat against the Scotch's game. He was seeing more blunders and overall being more strategic, even securing my queen and a rook. Although he could see my blunders, he was making blunders himself, turning in what would have been an easy game at the beginning into a win for me, as he resigned moments afterwards as he saw that every piece would lead him to losing. Although this game had me stressing more than last, and that was not a good sign. I decided to turn off the camera and not record our future games, and Dexter went off to play chess puzzles, and it was like something snapped inside of his brain and told him to lock in, because what happened next was insane.
I was just playing chess, and this guy almost beat me. Like, I was, maybe it was because of the beard, bro, but like, he did some moves that I was not seeing. Sneaky bastard.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to recreate the board, so you won't be able to see this magnificent game, but I'm telling you, this guy's mid-game was absolutely crazy. He managed to take out one of everything, including the queen, and the only reason you see it is because I used a pawn to get it back, all during the mid-game. It could have been because I used a different opening instead of the Scotch's game, but Dexter made less blunders overall, saw my blunders more, and let's just say,
he was playing way better this game. I'm scared.
Despite my earlier statement about me being scared, I was actually hoping Dexter could surpass me. Unfortunately, we ended chess for the night and watched the movie, and in the back of my head, I couldn't stop thinking about the next day and if Dexter could actually beat me. And hell, it was looking like it. Except, I didn't fucking sleep! I didn't sleep at all! If you thought Dexter's chance of winning was high, it's even higher now! How was I gonna beat Dexter if I didn't have an ounce of sleep? I'm over here sitting like a fucking dumbass eating some moose cake. I'm over here thinking if I eat something sugary, maybe it'll give me an ounce of energy knowing it will fucking dissipate within the next 20 minutes! Anyways, I continue eating the moose cake with the fork thinking I'm mature, but I actually look like a dumbass because I do not know how to cut it up properly. Then I get the worst brain freeze of my life and then act like a dad who woke up at 5 in the morning to get ready for work. Later, I decided to drink coffee, and no, I'm not a human style, they're yellow as fuck. I went from watching chess beginner opening videos and Gotham Chess, mostly to get the edge on Dexter, since I wouldn't be overly predictable when using the Scotches game. I was energetic, I was high, and mostly I was excited. And then the caffeine crash hit, and this is me, bro. I'm done. Does that mean the past minute of me yapping and explaining my prep time actually wasteful? Well, no, not exactly, because I pushed through and actually versed Dexter in the end, but actually to show you my prep time and how painful it was. Skip to the time Dexter woke up, and he obviously chose the worst time, which is straight after he woke up, and I was tired as fuck. So I had to have a coffee on standby. I spent the last 5 hours prepping for this.
And I've been sleeping for 10 hours. Just woke up. Straight to the bottom.
The only problem here was that Dexter, for some odd fucking reason, wakes up fully energized. And that's obviously bad for me, a person who is extremely tired and has to have coffee just to stay up. I begin with a queen's opening and he retaliates with a pawn to g5, which is very unconventional, but whatever. As you can see here, I'm playing a semi-decent opening. And at the moment, his pieces don't develop any of the backline pieces. As you can see here, I'm trying to do a fucking London opening, but I forget where all the pieces are meant to go, so it looks like some knockoff London opening system. And in the process, I mess up the foundation of where the pieces are meant to go. What's worse is me repeating a move by moving the bishop back. Why did I do that? Dexter then moved the pawn to e6. I then castle my king like an idiot instead of saving the hung knight on f3, but it just gets taken by the pawn on g4 and I take it back. Although I lost 3 material points and Dexter only lost 1. He then moves his rook to a6. I move my pawn to e5. He then proceeds to move his rook to d6, which gives him a massive advantage over the board. We both continue to develop our pieces. I then move my bishop to c4 and move my knight to f5. He then attacks back with his pawn on e6. I then retaliate with a pawn to d5, where he makes a mistake and moves a bishop to f4 instead of protecting the hung knight on c6, so I take the free bishop. He then moves one of his pawns to f5, which is a mistake from him since he still has the hung knight on c6. I proceed to move one of my pawns to b5, which looking back at it, I still don't know why I did that. I then move my bishop to c6, capturing his rook, and we end up trading pieces. With a plan in mind, I move my rook to e1, checking his king and forcing it to move to f8. I then move my pawn to d5, preparing an incoming attack. He moves his pawn to f4, and I take that free pawn on c6. At this point, I was in an utter winning position. He moves one of his pawns to h4, and we trade pawns on a5. At this point, despite me being tired as fuck, I was confident in my abilities. Later on, you will see my confidence slowly decrease as the game goes on. I think, and then move my queen to e2. Now, we are approaching the endgame, and this is where things get rough. Sorry to make this extremely overdramatic when it doesn't need to be, but you are about to see the worst levels of chess playing from me. If you think you're bad at chess, watch to the end because you're better than me. Alright, this video is getting too long. Let's speed blitz. Dexter goes pawn to a4. I move my rook to b1. He goes knight to e7. I move my rook to b8. He goes pawn to h3. I move my bishop to b5. He moves his rook to h6. I move my bishop to a5, taking that pawn that was blocking my own on a4. Now this part's extremely confusing. I move my rook to d1. He copies with a rook to e6. I move my bishop to c3 in a preparation to sacrifice everything. Now as you see, I'm extremely stressed. This is extremely close. One singular blunder, and this is all over. All that preparation, all those hours of drinking coffee and eating moose cake and fucking practicing chess for like 2 minutes. He moves his knight to f5, and the sacrificing truly begins. Do you see what could have been done differently here? The problem is that I didn't double the rook and the queen. Let me show you. That. Or this. I did none of those. And with a stupid brain, I decided to pull off one of the worst moves in chess history. Queen to c4. I had a chance to revoke my move. My hand was still on the piece, but I decided not to because I thought in my brain that that was the pawn, not the queen. I waited for Dexter to make a move, and then I realized my blunder. My lips part in despair as I realize what I have done. Dexter is flabbergasted as he realizes that's a free queen. He's shocked that I made this mistake. I would have never made this mistake if I wasn't tired, but I did. And he proceeds to take the queen. My mistake echoes in my mind. I can't get it off. Why did I do that? How could I do that? I could see the checkmate from a mile away. I tried to salvage the situation, but there was no point. I had lost to a checkmate, rendering this video over, as Dexter has now beaten me. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like. Bye-bye.